The Galactic Council chamber was unusually quiet that cycle. Hundreds of representatives sat in their designated sectors, their attention fixed on routine trade negotiations that had been debated countless times before. Nothing about this session was meant to be important. Nothing about it was meant to be remembered. At the center dais, Ambassador Reth reviewed a series of minor agreements, his movement slow with age but precise with experience. He had attended more council sessions than most species had recorded history. Very little surprised him in them all. That was why the alert made his blood run cold. A sharp tone cut through the chamber's ambient noise, subtle enough that no one else reacted, but unmistakable to him. His personal communication device had activated. Unprompted. Unauthorized. Impossible. Reth frowned, lowering his gaze to the display. For a moment, he simply stayed, his four hands hovering motionless above the console. Then his heart began to pound. The authentication code scrolling across the screen was ancient, older than most civilizations currently seated in the chamber, older than treaties, alliances, older than the Council itself in its current form. It was a code that had not been used in over 3 centuries, a code tied to a species the galaxy had long since stopped thinking about. Reth felt something deep and instinctive tighten inside him as he activated the transmission. A single line appeared. No greeting. No explanation. No delay, just a message. Humanity requests re-entry. For a long moment, Reth did not move. Around him, the Council continued its meaningless discussions, unaware that history had just shifted beneath their feet. He swallowed slowly, his voice barely more than a whisper. This cannot be real. But deep down, he already knew the truth. They had kept their promise. And if humanity was returning after 300 years of silence, then something had changed. Something big enough to wake a sleeping giant. Reth did not realize he had already stood up until the chamber fell silent around him. Conversations faded mid-sentence. Dozens of eyes, some organic, some artificial, some beyond human comprehension, turned toward his position. Interrupting a council session was not just unusual. It was unacceptable. Director Fen leaned forward from the central platform, his 6 eyes narrowing in visible irritation. Ambassador Reth, he said sharply, you are disrupting. They are coming back. The words cut through the chamber like a blade. Silence followed. Not confusion. Not curiosity. Silence. Then, laughter. Low at first, then spreading. Several representatives exchanged amused signals. Others simply turned away, already dismissing whatever ancient concern had clearly unsettled the aging ambassador. Director Fen exhaled slowly, one thin arm lifting in a dismissive gesture. Ambassador, he said, his tone now patronizing. The galaxy has moved on from old myths. If this is about those stories, they are not stories. Retha's voice was steady now, too steady. That, more than anything, made a few of the older council members shift uncomfortably. I was there, he continued. I met them. I spoke with their leaders. I watched their world survive what should have destroyed it. A pause. This time, fewer laughed. Fen tilted his head slightly, studying him. You are referring, the director said carefully, to the species designated. Humanity. The name itself seemed outdated in his mouth. Irrelevant. Like a relic from a less civilized era. They were quarantined. Another council member interjected. A volatile species. Aggressive. Unstable. They were never expected to last. Or to obey, someone else added. A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. Retha's gaze hardened. And yet they did. That stopped the room. They remained in their system, he continued. 300 years. No expansion. No contact. No violation. Fen frowned now. That is unlikely. It is fact. The air in the chamber shifted. Subtle, but real. For the first time, the idea was no longer ridiculous. Just uncomfortable. Another representative leaned forward. Even if that were true, they said, why would they return now? After all this time? Reth didn't answer immediately. His eyes drifted, unfocused for a moment, seeing something far away, far older. When I last spoke to them, he said slowly, they were not like us. A pause. They were not predictable. Another pause. They were not safe. The chamber grew colder, but there was something else as well. Fenn's voice cut in, quieter now. What? Ref looked up. They were a species that keeps its promises. Silence. Heavy this time. No laughter. No dismissal. Just a faint, creeping realization that something long forgotten might not have stayed buried. Ref activated the transmission again, projecting the message into the center of the chamber. The same single line appeared, hovering in the air for all to see. Humanity requests re-entry. And for the first time in generations, the Galactic Council did not know how to respond. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as Ref took control of the central display. No one remembers, he said quietly, because it has been too long and because it is easier to forget. The stars appeared above them, a projection of an ancient system, yellow star, scattered planets, one small blue world turning slowly in the void. Earth, Ref said. There was a pause. A few of the older delegates shifted. Most did not react at all. Retha's voice lowered. 300 years ago, that world was about to die. The image changed. A shadow appeared, massive, jagged, unstoppable. An asteroid, not a simple rock. A planet killer, large enough to fracture Earth's crust, to boil its oceans, to erase every trace of life in a single, final impact. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Even Fenn leaned forward now. Humanity knew, Ref continued. They saw it coming. They calculated the impact. They understood exactly what it meant. The projection shifted again. Signals, desperate, chaotic, burst outward from Earth in every direction. They transmitted a request for help, Ref said. Not to one system, not to one species, but to anyone who might hear them. A pause. They did not expect an answer. Silence. Then, we answered. A new image replaced Earth. A vessel, massive, elegant, alive with energy. The colony ship Endless Dawn, Ref said, his voice tightening. 50,000 of my people aboard. Families, scientists, children, a future meant for another world. The chamber was completely silent now. We were the closest, he continued. We had the technology. We had a choice. Another pause. We chose them. The asteroid reappeared. Closer now. Faster. Unstoppable. The operation was simple in theory, Ref said. Use our gravity well generators, alter its trajectory, pull it away from Earth. Fenn spoke softly. And in practice, Ref didn't look at him. In practice, it tore us apart. The image shattered into fragments. The Endless Dawn, breaking, hull fracturing, engines overloading, energy surging beyond safe limits. The strain exceeded every projection, Ref said. Our systems failed. Our structure collapsed. But we held the field. His voice dropped. We held it long enough. The asteroid's path shifted. Barely. Just enough. It missed Earth. The chamber watched in silence as the blue world continued to spin, untouched. Alive. They survived, Ref whispered. No one spoke. 50,000 of us did not. The projection faded to black. For several seconds, there was nothing, just silence. Heavy, crushing silence. Then, a new image appeared. Earth again. But this time, crowds, billions of humans, watching the sky, watching the sacrifice. They saw it happen, Ref said. Every human who could access a screen watched our ship break apart to save them. The image showed people crying, strangers embracing, weapons dropped, conflicts paused. The entire planet mourned us, he continued, for beings they had never met. Another pause. They offered us everything they had. Fenn finally spoke, quieter than before. And what did your people ask in return? Ref closed his eyes briefly. We asked for time. The chamber stilled again. They were brilliant, he said, innovative, capable of extraordinary things. His eyes opened, but they were also violent, divided, unpredictable. The projection shifted, images of human wars, destruction, chaos. We feared what they would become if they reached the stars too soon. Silence, so we gave them a choice. Another pause. They would remain within their solar system for 300 years. No expansion, no contact, no interference. Time to grow, Reth said softly. Time to change. Fen frowned, and they agreed. Reth nodded. Yes. A beat. They agreed, knowing they would likely never see us again. The chamber was completely still. No movement, no sound, just the weight of what had been revealed. Reth looked around slowly at the gathered representatives. They made a promise, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire chamber. And for 300 years. A pause. They kept it. For a time, Reth continued, his voice quieter now. The galaxy watched. The display shifted once more. Years began to pass across the projection, decades flickering by in seconds. At first, there was curiosity, he said. Some believed humanity would emerge stronger. Others expected them to collapse without expansion. Images of distant observation probes appeared, watching the edge of Earth's system. Most, however, Reth paused slightly, expected them to fail. A few council members exchanged subtle gestures of agreement. It was a logical outcome, one representative muttered. No species voluntarily limits itself for that long. Reth did not respond. Instead, the projection continued. Decades passed, then a century, then two. Signals were monitored, he said. Borders were observed. Surveillance remained constant. The display showed nothing unusual. No fleets, no expansion, no violations. Every few cycles, Reth continued, someone would report that humanity had surely broken the agreement. Another pause. They never had. The chamber grew still again. They remained within their system, he said. They built, they evolved, they changed. But they did not come out. Fen leaned forward slightly. That level of restraint is improbable. It is unprecedented, Reth corrected. The years accelerated now. 250, 280, 290. Eventually, Reth said, the report stopped. The projection dimmed. Observation posts were decommissioned. Records archived. Attention shifted elsewhere. New conflicts emerged, he continued. New alliances formed. New species rose to prominence. The galaxy moved on. Humanity faded. They became a footnote, Reth said quietly. A story told by older generations, rarely believed by the young. The chamber was silent. Some representatives avoided looking at him now, because they were those younger generations. They forgot, Reth said, a long pause. They forgot what humans were. The lights in the chamber seemed dimmer now. He turned slightly, looking at the central display again. And then, he said softly, the message reappeared in the air. Humanity requests re-entry. No sound, no movement, just that single line, hanging over them like a warning. Fen spoke, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. After 3 centuries of silence, he said slowly, they choose to return now. Reth nodded once. Yes. Another pause, which leaves us with only one question. The chamber leaned into the silence. Reth's voice dropped to almost a whisper. What have they been doing all this time? The decision was made faster than anyone expected, not because the council agreed, but because uncertainty was worse than the truth. A probe would be sent, a single vessel to the edge of human space, just to confirm. Nothing more. Ambassador Reth insisted on going personally. No one argued. 3 days later, his ship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the outer boundary of a system long absent from galactic concern. So, for a brief moment, there was nothing, just a distant glow of a yellow star and the silent expanse of space. Then his sensors activated, and everything changed. There's a vessel already here, his pilot said, voice tight. Reth leaned forward slowly. Display. The image appeared, sleek, dark, unfamiliar. It was not massive, not by galactic standards. It carried no obvious markings of rank or power, no exaggerated weapons arrays, no decorative insignias, and yet something about it felt wrong, or perhaps too right. Its structure was efficient, Purposeful. Every angle sharp, every line deliberate. This was not a ship built for display. This was a ship built for function, for intent, for control. It's been waiting for us, the pilot whispered, as if on cue. A communication request appeared. Immediate, direct, no hesitation. Reth stared at it for a moment, then nodded. Accept. The screen shifted, and for the first time in 300 years, a human appeared. A woman, dark skin, short hair, eyes steady and focused in a way that made it feel like she was not just looking at him, but through him. She wore a simple uniform. No medals, no ornaments, just a single insignia, a small image of Earth surrounded by stars. She spoke first, her voice calm, measured, unshaken. Ambassador Reth. Not a question, a statement. My name is Brooks, she continued. I speak for humanity. Reth blinked once, caught slightly off guard. You know who I am. A faint smile touched her expression. We remember. Silence filled the space between them. Not empty, but heavy, meaningful. Reth exhaled slowly. I did not expect, he hesitated, that you would honor the agreement. Anne's expression didn't change. We gave our word. Simple, direct, absolute. Reth felt something tighten in his chest. 300 years, he said. Most species would not have lasted 3 decades. And tilted her head slightly. Most species, she replied, are not human. There was no arrogance in her tone, just fact. Behind her, the faint outline of her ship's interior could be seen, minimalistic, efficient, alive with quiet activity. No chaos, no excess, everything controlled. You have changed, Reth said carefully, and gaze held his. Yes. A pause. So have you. That caught him off guard. Before he could respond, she continued. We have been watching, she said. Reth stiffened slightly. From within your system, he asked. Yes. Another pause. We observed your growth, she continued. Your conflicts, your alliances, your decline. Reth's expression darkened. So they knew. Of course they knew. We saw what happened to your people, Anne said softly. The words landed heavier than any accusation. The fading, she added. Silence. Reth looked away for a moment. There is nothing to be done, he said quietly. We have accepted. No. The word cut through him. Sharp, immediate, unyielding, and leaned slightly forward. And for the first time, there was something beneath her calm, something stronger. You saved us, she said. Her voice was still controlled. But now, there was steel in it. Now, she continued, we save you. Reth stared at her. You cannot be serious, he said. You owe us nothing. And shook her head once. 50,000 of your people died for ours. A pause. We remember every name. Another pause. We do not forget our debts. The silence that followed was different. Not uncertainty. Not fear. Something else. Something heavier. Something inevitable. Reth swallowed slowly. The council will not allow this, he said. They fear you. Anne's expression didn't change. They should. A beat. Because we are dangerous. The words hung in the air. Cold. Honest. Then, her tone softened slightly. But not to our friends. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between Ambassador Reth and Brooks stretched across the void like something fragile, or something about to break. Reth was the first to look away. You should not have come, he said quietly, and did not respond. Our situation is beyond recovery, he continued. We have spent decades, centuries, trying to understand the fading. His voice tightened slightly. It is not a disease we can fight, not an infection we can isolate. It is written into us, into our very code. And listen without interruption. Our children are born weaker each generation, Reth said. Fewer survive. Fewer reach maturity. A pause. Entire cities stand empty now. Another. We are not dying all at once, he finished. We are fading. The word lingered. Heavy, final, Behind and faint movement continued inside her ship, but even that seemed quieter now, as if the gravity of the moment had reached them as well. Reth exhaled slowly. "We have accepted it," he said. "Our scientists have accepted it. The Council has accepted it." He looked back at her. "You should do the same," and was silent for a few seconds. Then, "No, not louder, not sharper, just absolute." Reth frowned slightly. "You do not understand," he said. "This is not a problem that can be solved with determination or innovation. This is extinction." And stepped closer to the screen. "And you do not understand," she replied calmly. A pause. "We do not accept that word." Reth stared at her. "It is reality. It is a challenge." The difference between those two statements hung in the air like a dividing line between species. Reth shook his head. "You cannot fight genetics," he said. "You cannot fight inevitability." Anne's expression didn't change. 300 years ago, she said, we were facing our own inevitability. The words hit hard. Reth's breath caught slightly. "You looked at our extinction," she continued, "and chose to act anyway." A pause. "You did not win because it was possible." Another. "You won because you refused to accept that it wasn't." Silence. Reth had no immediate response. Anne's voice softened slightly. 50,000 of your people died so that ours could live," she said. Her eyes didn't leave his. "We built an entire civilization on that moment." A beat. "We changed because of you." Reth's expression shifted, just slightly. Not disbelief, not rejection. Something closer to conflict. "You think that gives you the right to throw your lives away for us?" he asked, and shook her head. "No." A pause. "It gives us the responsibility." That word landed deeper than anything else. Responsibility. Not debt, not obligation. Something chosen. Something owned. Reth leaned back slowly in his seat. "The Council will oppose this," he said. "They already fear what you might become." And nodded once. "They are not wrong." That answer surprised him. "But this is not about them," she continued. "This is not about politics, or fear, or control." Another step closer. "This is about a promise." Silence. "You saved us," and said again, quieter now, "not because you had to, but because it was right." A pause. "So now we will do the same." Reth closed his eyes briefly. He saw it again. The endless dawn breaking apart. The light. The sacrifice. The silence that followed. "You could fail," he said. "Yes." "You could lose people." "Yes." "You could gain nothing from this." And didn't hesitate. "We already gained everything." Reth opened his eyes. She was still there, unshaken, unmoving, certain. How may humanity serve the Koi people? The question was simple, but it carried the weight of an entire species behind it. Reth felt something in his chest tighten again. Not fear this time. Something else. Something he had not felt in a very long time. Hope. He looked at her, really looked, at the calm, at the certainty, at the quiet strength behind her words. And slowly, he nodded. "Take me home," he said. The medical complex was far too large for the number of patients it held. Ambassador and Brooks walked through silent corridors lined with unused equipment, darkened observation rooms, and empty recovery wards that had once been filled with life. Now, there were only echoes. "This facility was built to treat thousands," said a soft voice beside her. The elderly matriarch moved with slow dignity, her shifting skin tones muted in shades of gray and blue. "Now we use less than 10% of it." And said nothing. She didn't need to. The emptiness spoke clearly enough. Behind them, Dr. Henry Okoye and his team had already disappeared into the research sectors, requesting full access to genetic archives, historical records, and live patient data within minutes of arrival. Humans did not hesitate. They moved. They acted. They worked. 3 days passed. 3 days of relentless analysis. 3 days of sleepless focus. 3 days where even the local scientists, who had long since accepted defeat, watched in quiet disbelief as a human team tore through centuries of failed research in a fraction of time. On the 4th day, everything changed. and was reviewing planetary data when the door to her temporary command room opened without warning. Dr. Henry Okoye stepped in. He looked different, not tired, not frustrated, something else. Controlled urgency. "Ambassador," he said, "you need to see this." Minutes later, a small group stood in a secured analysis chamber. Anne, Henry, Commander Patricia Walsh, and the matriarch. The room darkened as Henry activated the central display. Complex genetic structures filled the air, patterns within patterns, sequences layered with precision that bordered on artistry, and crossed her arms slightly. "What am I looking at?" she asked. Henry didn't hesitate. "The truth." A pause. "This isn't a natural genetic collapse." Silence. The matriarch's color shifted faintly, uncertainty creeping into her form. "What do you mean?" she asked. Henry adjusted the display. Sections of the genetic code highlighted themselves automatically. "Natural degradation is chaotic," he explained. "Random mutations, unpredictable failure points." Another sequence appeared. "This," he said, "is not chaotic." The patterns aligned. Perfectly. Too perfectly. "It's structured," and said quietly. Henry nodded. "Engineered." The word hit like a shockwave. The matriarch staggered slightly, one of her arms gripping the nearby console for support. "That is not possible," she whispered. "It is not only possible," Henry replied. "It's precise." He zoomed in further. "Whoever did this designed it to appear natural," he continued. "Slow progression. Generational decay. No clear origin point." A pause. It was meant to go unnoticed. Commander Walsh's jaw tightened. "So someone did this on purpose." Henry didn't look away from the data. "Yes." Silence filled the room. Thick, heavy, dangerous. Ann's voice cut through it. "Can you trace it?" Henry nodded once. "I already have." The display shifted. A new image appeared. Tall figures, crystalline skin, multiple sensory nodes. Cold, unfamiliar, predatory in a way that wasn't physical, but calculated. "The genetic signatures match one known source," Henry said. He didn't need to build suspense. He just said it. "The Vosh Concord." The matriarch collapsed into her seat. Her colors drained completely. "No," she whispered. "Why would they?" "That doesn't matter," and said. Her voice had changed. No longer calm, no longer soft, still controlled, but now cold, very cold. "What matters," she continued slowly, "is that they did." She stepped closer to the display. Her eyes locked onto the image of the Vosh. "They infected your people," she said. A pause. "They turned extinction into a weapon." Another pause. "They tried to erase you slowly enough that no one would notice." Commander Walsh exhaled sharply. "That's genocide." And didn't respond immediately. She just stood there, staring at the image. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, but infinitely more dangerous. "They hurt our friends." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Even Walsh felt it. That shift, that moment when emotion becomes something else. Something focused. Something unstoppable. Henry broke the silence. "I can fix it." All eyes turned to him. "Now that I understand the mechanism," he continued, "I can design a counter-sequence. It will take time, but it's possible." And nodded once. "Do it." Simple. Immediate. No hesitation. Then she toned. "Commander." Walsh straightened slightly. "Yes. Send a transmission to Fleet Command." A pause. Her eyes returned to the display. "To the Vosh. We have new orders." Walsh's expression shifted into something sharp. "Understood." She didn't ask what the orders were. She already knew, and took one last look at the image before speaking again. "We're going to pay them a visit." A pause. "And we're going to have a conversation." Another pause. The final line came out calm. Controlled. Certain. They're not going to enjoy it. The message was broadcast across every major channel in the Galactic Council. Uninvited. Unstoppable. Director Fen didn't even have time to react before the central display shifted, overridden by an external signal that bypassed every layer of security as if it didn't exist. A familiar figure appeared. Anne Brooks. "Apologies for the interruption," she said calmly. No one believed she meant it. "This is a secured session," Fenn snapped. "You have no authorization." "Your security was sufficient," and replied evenly, "approximately 3 centuries ago." A ripple of unease moved through the chamber. We broke through it in 7 minutes. Silence, cold, heavy, and continued. "We are not here to debate jurisdiction," she said. "We are here to inform you." The display behind her shifted. Deep space, empty at first glance. Then, shapes, dark, massive, dozens, no, hundreds of ships. They weren't arranged in ceremonial formation. They weren't broadcasting power. They simply existed. Still, silent, waiting. The chamber froze. 300 years is a long time, and said softly, "We did not spend it idle." The image zoomed slightly, revealing structure, armor plating, weapon systems, designs unlike anything the Council had catalogued. Efficient, purpose-built, dangerous. "We hoped we would never need these," she continued. "We hoped the galaxy would be better than the one we left behind." A pause, but we prepared anyway. Fenn's voice returned. Strained now. "This is a threat." And looked directly into the camera. "No, a beat. This is a promise." The words landed harder than any threat could. "We have identified the source of the Koi extinction event," she continued. A new image appeared. The unmistakable form of the Vosh Concord. They engineered it, and said, they deployed it, they concealed it. Silence. They committed genocide. The word echoed through the chamber, and no one denied it. "We are going to their space," and said, "We are going to retrieve every individual involved." A pause, "And we are going to ensure it never happens again." Fenn stepped forward slightly. "You do not have authority to act unilaterally against a council member species." Ann's expression didn't change. "We are not asking for authority." Another pause. "We are extending courtesy." The distinction was clear. A council security official leaned forward. "You bring one ship into council space," he said, trying to regain control. "We have thousands." And smiled. It wasn't warm. "We brought one diplomatic ship," she said. Then the display changed again, zooming out, farther, farther still, until the full scale became visible. The fleet, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands, hidden at the edge of detection, waiting, watching, ready. The chamber went completely silent. "Would you like to know what else is waiting beyond your sensor range?" And asked softly. No one answered. No one needed to. She continued anyway. "We will arrive at Vosh Space shortly." A pause. "When we do, we will issue a formal request." Another. "They will have 12 hours to comply." Fenn's voice was barely controlled now. "And if they refuse?" And leaned slightly closer to the camera, her eyes steady, unblinking. "Then we will proceed." No raised voice, no dramatic emphasis, just certainty. "We do not want territory," she continued. "We do not want control." A pause. "We want justice." Another pause. "And we will have it." Silence filled the chamber as she delivered her final words. "You have 2 options." Her voice was calm, but absolute. "Stand with us." A beat. "Or stay out of our way." The transmission ended. No fade. No warning. Just gone. For several seconds. No one in the Galactic Council moved. Because for the first time in centuries, they understood something clearly. Humanity had not returned to join the galaxy. They had returned to change it. The message reached the leadership of the Vosh Concord within minutes. They gathered in their central command chamber, tall, crystalline forms reflecting sharp light across polished surfaces, their voices layered with controlled urgency. 4 to 7 confirmed human vessels at the border, one advisor reported. "Only 4 to 7, another replied. "That is insignificant." A murmur of agreement followed. Their fleets numbered in the hundreds. Their defenses were layered. Their systems refined over centuries. They had committed the perfect crime. Also, they believed. An elder among them, one who still had access to archived data, spoke carefully. You are underestimating them. A pause. They come from a death world. Silence. That is superstition. Another snapped. We outnumber them. The elder did not raise his voice. The Trellin Armada said the same thing. No one responded to that, because they all knew what had happened to the Trellin Armada. Send the reply. The Supreme Coordinator ordered at last. The transmission was simple, dismissive, cold. They denied everything, and they told humanity to leave. 12 hours passed. The human fleet did not move. They did not reposition. They did not communicate again. They simply waited, dark shapes against the void, silent, watching, counting. When the deadline expired, they attacked. No warning, no hesitation, no formation shifts. They accelerated, fast, faster than the Vosh sensors had predicted, faster than their models allowed. They are not maneuvering, one commander said in confusion. They are charging. The Vosh opened fire. Precision energy beams cut across space, designed to disable, to control, to preserve. Civilized warfare. The beams struck human ships, and did almost nothing. Impact minimal, a technician reported, disbelief bleeding into his tone. The human vessels didn't slow, didn't scatter, didn't hesitate. They kept coming. Then, they fired. Missiles erupted from their hulls in dense, coordinated waves. Hundreds, then thousands. The void filled with movement. With intercept, a commander shouted. Too late. Point defense systems were overwhelmed instantly. Explosions tore through the front lines. Ships fractured. Systems failed. Formation collapsed. Then came the kinetic strikes. Simple, brutal. Metal accelerated to unimaginable speeds. No energy signature. No warning. Just impact. Vosh shields, designed for energy absorption, meant nothing. Projectiles punched straight through them. Hull after hull ruptured. Ships died in seconds. What kind of weapons are these? Someone demanded. No one had an answer. Then, radiation. A flood of invisible death swept across the battlefield. Unshielded frequencies. Banned technologies. Unpredictable. Unforgiving. Containment failing. Systems degrading. Crew. The transmissions cut off one by one. Within the first hour, 80 Vosh ships were gone. The humans had lost 2. Fall back, the coordinator ordered. Regroup at secondary defense line. But the humans didn't give them that chance. They pressed forward, relentless. Their ships moved like predators, not elegant, not graceful, efficient, purposeful, deadly. They targeted weak points in formations, exploited reaction delays, forced errors, then punished them instantly. A Vosh commander attempted a desperate maneuver matching human aggression. He turned his ship into a direct collision course. If they rammed, they could take one human vessel with them. At the last second, the human ship adjusted. Minimal thruster burn. Precise. Calculated. They slipped past the collision by meters, then fired directly into the Vosh engines. The ship went dark, dead in space. The humans didn't even slow down. Hours passed, but it didn't feel like hours. It felt like collapse. Systematic. Inevitable. By the 6th hour, the Vosh fleet was broken. Ships fled in all directions. Some attempted surrender. Some broadcast distress. Some simply went silent. The humans did not chase blindly. They did not rage. They executed. Clean. Controlled. Total. From his command deck, Admiral Derek Stone watched the battlefield unfold without expression. Cease fire on vessels broadcasting surrender, he said calmly. A pause. Continue disabling military infrastructure. Yes, Admiral. No celebration. No hesitation. Just orders. Just completion. The human fleet advanced toward the Vosh homeworld. What followed was not destruction. It was dismantling. Precision orbital strikes eliminated shipyards. Missile barrages neutralized weapons platforms. Defense grid collapsed in minutes. Every military installation gone. Every capability to wage war removed. The planet remained intact. The cities untouched. the civilians alive. But the message was absolute. When it was over, Admiral Stone opened the channel. "This is your final notice," he said. His voice carried across the system.